What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room. And this is where we at now. So you clearly see the title of the broadcast here. And this young lady here is going to be explaining how life would be with a matriarchy. Just, flat out, no men at all. Okay. You know, I I find it amazing because the women that I grew up with, they love men. Well, they love their men. A lot of my mother's passed on. I have one grandmother now that I'm taking care of. My other grandmother's passed on as well. Um, I find it real disheartening that these women that think this way come from men and they want to eradicate us. I don't understand the hatred, and I kind of do. Don't get me wrong. Let me retract that. I kind of do understand the hatred. It's just it's evilness, and it's wanting to not accept responsibility for the things that these types of women with this type of mindset have done in their lives and things like that. But we're going to dive off into this, and we're going to go here now. Quarters, nickels, and dimes.
Man, go ahead and click off this video because you won't like it, or you can cry in the comments. In order for us to achieve peace on planet Earth and get the things that we want to get out of this life, we're going to have to delete 90% of men. Yes, that includes your awful baby daddy and your ancient father. So if I was president of the universe, we would literally structure society so that we can finally achieve a matriarchy. But in order to do that, we have to get rid of most men because let's just face it, most men are not going to change. There's literally not enough time on planet Earth to change the heart of a trash man, and there's nothing you can do. We would literally need the second coming of Christ in order to change some of these men on this planet. And so
hold on, the second coming of Christ, baby. Christ is a man. Lord. I mean, and these are the people, these are the type of people with the type of mindset and things like that, as we all know, out there, ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't think this way. That they always trying to throw God and stuff. God doesn't stand for any of this. The reason why he made Eve for Adam is to complement each other. It's not good that man should be alone. He made Eve. Now, of course, that situation was botched to a degree because of the manipulation that happened in the certain situation. We all know the story. But listen, look, people, I'm just saying here, it's no way that we can make it on this planet without each other. That was the purpose of the whole design of, men and women on this planet. It's impossible for either one to make it without each other. Now, men probably can do a little something, but at the same time, though, too, it's going to be horrible on this planet without women. That makes no fucking sense. Like, shit.
What I am suggesting,
I don't want to be on a planet with a bunch of dudes. Are you fucking kidding me?
Is that we literally get rid of them using the science that we already have. Elon Musk has said that by the year 2031, we will be able to support life on planet Mars. So I'm suggesting that we ship 90%, the bottom 90% of men to Mars so that we can achieve the patriarchy.
Hold on. First of all, baby, do you want to delete men or do you want to ship men to Mars? Make up your mind now. Because first you was talking about deleting. Now you're talking about shipping men to Mars. See, this is the confusion that we're talking about out here. And this is the talking out of side of the necks. And shit, man, stop it.
And what does that leave us with? That leaves us with the top 10% of men, 5% of which are the men who are loyal to their wives and devoted husbands. And the other 5% are the men who have amazing gene pool, great IQ, good bone structure, good hair, skin, tall, fine as fuck. You know what I'm talking about. So since 2031 is a couple years away, that gives us enough time to decide what are the traits that we want to keep from the men on planet Earth and how do we want to repopulate the planet. We can have sporting competitions to decide who is the most athletic. We can have mental competitions to see who is the smartest, the best IQ. We can have social competitions to decide who has the best heart and who is the most emotionally viable. But if you
My question is, who's going to force these men to participate in these situations that you're talking about, young lady? Who's going to force the men to do this? Because from my knowledge of living on this planet for 43 years, is that it takes other men to make other men do things. Women en masse ain't making men do shit. If that was the case, this situation would have been a matriarchy thousands of years ago, and it would still be that way today. So what are we talking about here? Man, stop it. Out the side of the neck. Out the side of the fucking neck. Just, it's just that. Out the side of the neck. This is crazy. We're going to have competitions to sport competitions to see who's the strongest and see who's this and that, and competitions to see who this and that. Who gonna make these men participate in this for you? Who gonna force these men to do this? Get the
want to actually have a chance to fight as a matriarchy and become the great planet that we know we can be, we have to get rid of 90% of men in order to do this. And that means you're going to have to detach from the idea of everyone getting a soulmate, because that's just not realistic. Now, after we've gotten rid of 90% of men, you probably are asking, Ace, what do we do after that? Now we got all these women on this planet. What are we going to do? I am suggesting that we begin to rebuild our societies centering around women, children, and the elderly, meaning our housing complexes need to literally be built in a circle, supporting children in the center and having the rest of the society, the rest of the neighborhoods be built around this. Now, you're probably...
That's okay. So why don't we build anything in either one of these states or cities and things? Why don't we build in circles like she's talking about? Why is that not applicable for living conditions, to just build everything in a fucking big ass circle like that? That makes no sense. Where your streets and roads going to come in at? How you going to move trucks and things like that to deliver goods and services? How you going to, it's hard out here for a pimp. It's hard out here. Man, listen. The imagination of some of these buffoon ass women is wild out here. And some of these dudes too. I guarantee you some dudes out there that got that same mindset that's cucked out like that. That's crazy, bro. This is crazy right here. How you going to do anything like that? And who's going to build this stuff? Because she's talking about getting rid of 90% of the men on the planet, shipping them off to Mars. At first she was talking about deleting them. Now she want to ship them to Mars. Listen, look, man, who's going to build all this stuff? Is she talking about keeping the top percent of men that look good and, smart, all this type of stuff? Okay, you get rid of 90% of the men. That don't leave but a certain percentage of men. And all the men can't, build everything that you need for all across America. Because I guarantee she ain't talking about one state. She talking about across America. Just, this whole American society is just nothing but a bunch of women and a handful of men. How they going to build all that? And another thing too, let's get real about this shit. Let's get real. Hold on here. I'm finna go big screen real quick. Let's get real. You talking about keeping a small percentage of men. Who's going to take care of the silos where we keep our nuclear weapons? Because you have to have people that are underground in a certain type of bunker that watches these armed missiles of nuclear warfare. They have to be there for weeks at a time, and then they trade out and stuff like that to, for other people to come, and the other people take breaks and then they come back. It's only a strategical amount of people that are allowed government access to these types of things. How are you going to do that? So also, how are you going to run the government? Who's going to protect you from other nations and things like that? Where Jesus Christ. Who's going to ship all this food? You got only a handful of men. Who's going to drive all of those trucks 11 hours, 12, 24-hour distances and stuff like that? Who's going to drive these trucks over across, big mountains and stuff like that to deliver goods and services? Who's going to fly these planes that need to be flown across across the seas to get goods and services that we do get from overseas to bring back over here that we in America enjoy? Who's going to do all this? Y'all broads, these chicks going to do all that? Who's going to be in the factory building the shoes, sewing the clothes? Who's going to do all the mass amount of farming and stuff like that it takes to feed the people? Who's going to do? Let's keep going.
Probably wondering, well, we got rid of all the men. Who's going to do our construction work? We can literally 3D print our houses if we want to, or we can have strong women do the work. If you know anything about strong women, a strong woman is as good as a man, as competent as a man.
Okay, then why ain't women in construction work on mass like that right now? So it's going to take to get rid of all men for women to all of a sudden find this power to be these construction workers, nailing nails in the middle of summer heat. Some places in America get to 100 degrees heat when you have to repair buildings and do all this type of stuff. Like to make this shit make sense to me. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. I may work with the matriarchy, but make it make sense. Who gonna do all that shit if it's just a bunch of women all day? And then let alone when you get menstrual cycles and stuff like that, half y'all don't even want to get out the bed when that type of shit happens. And I'm not knocking it, thank God, because that's good. You know what I'm saying? Women go through that. They supposed to go through that. That's nature, and that's God-given right. But I'm saying, oh man, make this shit make sense, bro. Make it make sense. You got you got to check on a fucking you got to check on stuff, but you too sick to get up and do it. Like, make it make sense, man. Come on, man. This daydreaming stuff, and this is partially also men's fault too. This also our fault. Some of this is really our fault, and as men on this planet, we've allowed too much of this daydreaming to go on. Definitely in the modern age, you know what I'm saying? Society's been built so sweet to everybody think that this shit is a cakewalk, and it's really not. I don't know what 2020 taught y'all, but when this shit got shut down, if y'all don't remember that, maybe I'm not gonna go into that. Let's just keep going.
And the best part about women is that not only can they be strong and competent, but they can also produce more men if we need to.
How? When you ain't got no men to This is a good drink.
Except this time the men will have great genes because we weeded out all of the bad gene pool. And I know some of you out there are thinking, well, what happens with all of the men that we send to Mars? What are they going to do up there? I don't know. I mean, they probably want to smash each other. So we should just let them do their thing and create.
Here we go with the gay shit. Jesus Christ. No, 9 times out of 10, all the women on the planet is not going to go for your buffoonery. Let's just say this scenario happens and 90% of the men get shipped to Mars. Yeah, we're going to rebuild. We're going to build up, and the women that are going to come with us because they don't want to stay on this planet with you ratchet ass bitches, which 9 times out of 10, let's just talk about the realness of this scenario that 90% of men is not going to allow you bitches to kick us off the planet in the first place. Jesus, man. Are you kidding me? Okay. But let's keep up with the scenario here. So let's just say, 90% of the men bow out and we go to Mars and let y'all women have Earth. Okay. So, y'all stuck down here with whatever little handful of men you think that are going to deal with you. And, what I'm saying, and definitely if these men are these type of men that she's describing, they're not going to deal with the bullshit either. But listen, look, no, that's not going to happen. You're talking about reproducing. Now, yes, it only take a handful of men to reproduce the population on the planet, technically, but that's going to take a long time. The way that men, and this is logic talk right here. The way that men have sex, he not finna be in a room having sex with 100 chicks back to back. That he can't reproduce like that. It's going to take years at a time to get the population back up. And then at the same time, though, too, what are you going to do with the boys that get born and probably rebel against you? What you going to think you're going to ship them? I don't know. This is crazy talk. This is this is clearly at the side of the neck. This is wild right here. And to be honest with you, fellas, man, a lot of this is our fault, man, because we don't put our foot down out here on the planet. We do too much, man. We've done too much. Jesus, man. For our own sisters, mothers, daughters, aunties, to be thinking like this, man. She's somebody's auntie, she's somebody's daughter, she's somebody's sister. Man, are you kidding me, bro?
Their own societies, their own communities, their own brotherhood if they want to. They can go play soccer or do whatever they want. I just don't think that we can have them on our planet if we want a chance at survival as women who have power. And if you have other suggestions on how we can rebuild a matriarchy on planet Earth, let me know in the comments. Oh, and one last thing, having money as a man does not qualify you to be on the matriarchy of planet Earth. So we can go ahead and get rid of that myth that having money as a man makes you better, because literally it's your gene pool. What genes were you born with, and how can you be useful to the matriarchy?
My question is, since when did it become women's Earth? Because I could have sworn down. I don't know. Maybe I got this wrong. Just maybe I got this wrong. I thought God ordained men to have, minion over the earth. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, that little, story I heard, or whatever you want to call it. That I heard growing up, definitely as a preacher's kid. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Am I? Just asking. Jesus, man. So we're going to keep going because there's a lot more. And we're going to hear from one of these guys with the matriarchy situation too. And then we're going to get back to her because she has a lot more to say. So we're going to go here now. Let's check this out.
Matriarchal community is being built currently in Ecuador. I've just signed up with Nancy. We're going to team up. We're looking for some people that want to contribute and be a part of a new matriarchal society. We're going to start hosting retreats on her land down in Ecuador. You're into the retreat business. You want to help build a matriarchal community, to just try it out, see what happens. Type in matriarchy in the comments and we'll reach out.
So a matriarchal community, just try it out. Okay. So I'm good. And like I said previously, though, obviously there are men that are signing up for this type of mindset. Listen, look, people, nothing's perfect in life. I want you people to understand out there that we don't even live on a planet that's perfect. That's when we got storms, hurricanes, earthquakes, situations that go on between humans, battles throughout history. Like it's not supposed to be perfect. And these people nowadays have this thought process, like they can find a way, they could just figure out a way to make life just this perfect, super peaceful shit. Like it ain't gonna never be that. That's not even how the planet's designed to be. You got volcanoes, all the planet not even peaceful. What are we talking about here? Man, come on, bro. Come on. And y'all know I'm telling y'all the truth. So we're going to keep going here because I'm telling you, man, she got a lot more to say. I wanted y'all to see that dude and stuff like that so you kind of see that at the same time or two. It is some dudes out here signing up for this mess. Let's go here now.
That we do is for the sake of earning money. When do we actually get a chance to live? This is why I started thinking of the matriarchy on a more deep level, because I'm actually thinking about what's going to happen to the next 30 or 40 years of my life if I'm not going to have kids, if I'm going to be someone who just works for money. What is the actual point of doing any work at all if this all means nothing in the end?
So you don't want to do any work at all, but you want to build a community full of women. And you know, at first you were saying get rid of 90% of men, delete 90% of men. Now then she backtracked talking about, well, we're going to keep a certain percentage of men, but they have to be this and that and woo the woo and all this and that. Okay, fine. So do you want to talk about work? You're going to work regardless. And see, this is the issue that we're talking about here. I don't understand how, you know, what type of thought process she's talking about. If you are growing crops or building this circle of buildings, talking about 3D printing and stuff like that, and this and that's it's work involved. That's still work. You growing food, all this type of stuff. And then another thing too, you know what I'm saying? Because women, modern day women are have been so ingrained in today's society. How you gonna make tissue? I bet you guarantee you a lot of y'all chicks out there don't know what it takes to make tissue. And if you figured it out, you'd be disgusted by it because you wouldn't want to work in the plant that makes tissue. Let's just think this shit through. A lot of y'all chicks wouldn't know how to deal with the feces that y'all gonna create, the maxi pads that y'all gonna need to get rid of, all types of stuff. You're not thinking this shit through. To keep the diseases down, all types of stuff. A lot of y'all chicks don't even know how to make penicillin. Man, God. It blows my mind that we have allowed people like this to have these thought processes in society, definitely over here in America, because you go in some of these other countries and stuff like that, they don't have these stupid issues. Some of them don't. Some of them are starting to be, you know, this modern day thinking thought process. I'm hearing about China. They got a little issue. Definitely certain parts of Korea. Anyway, Jesus, man, I'm mentioning a lot of facts here, and y'all know I'm telling the truth. It's crazy out here. How you gonna ship goods and services and stuff like that? Because you have to do that in order to maintain a decent way of living. What are you going to do if y'all catch a cold or something like that? I would be afraid for this situation. And this is one of the reasons why I would be afraid is like to have all these chicks just running the show that hard. Like it would be they will be taking so much revenge whenever they have a male child. It would be ridiculous. It would be ridiculous. Wow, I couldn't imagine. But anyway, nah, man, this is crazy, bro. This is crazy. And y'all know I'm telling the truth out here. How you gonna do all this stuff that needs to be done to have a successful society? Because a lot of these new age women are not built to live old school style, where they have to wash their clothes in the iron board. Because listen, look, if that's the case, and you get rid of 90% of the men, who gonna run the electrical system? Who gonna get up on them power lines that reach 80,000 fucking feet in the air? And I know that number is I'm exaggerating the number now. Don't get me wrong. But y'all seen them big power lines though. What one of them women gonna get up there and redo a fucking transformer that blown?
And that's why I think starting a matriarchy can actually save all of our lives if we do it properly. And what I mean by that is actually creating a community that we have that has sovereignty in a specific country, probably not the United States, but maybe somewhere in Asia or, yeah, Asia.
Right. Ecuador, like that dude was talking about.
Where we can actually build and grow and have community with each other without having to give our souls away to these corporations that don't care about us in the end. Because if most of us continue down the paths that we're on, we will end up unhealthy, not having a good connection with nature, not having a good connection with the people around us, and ultimately unhappy. That's where corporate life leads you. So what I'm suggesting is that we actually come together as a community and figure out, how do we actually build on a plot of land somewhere where we can control the food that we get, have an actual council to decide how we govern ourselves, and be a self-sustaining body that is not dependent on capitalism in order to survive. And that's why I started the Gentle Woman Circle, because I wanted to have more conversations like this with women and aligned men who are interested in actually starting this up and getting it off the ground. Because one thing I do know is that we can't spend the next 20 to 30 years of our lives working and having absolutely no reason to live. It's just not healthy. It's not the way people all the way across the world are living. People in Asia are actually enjoying their existence. Even if they're not rich, they're still having a reason to live. And I think that that's important for each and every American to understand as well.
At the end of the day, though, you know what I'm saying? Even if they're doing that and they're not rich, you know, you could do that here and not be rich. If you know how to work your finances, live in your means and stuff like that, do the things that you're supposed to do, and not be lustful over things that everybody else has. Listen, look, man, this is crazy out here. She's clearly talking out the side of her neck. She didn't even think all this shit through. And women like her are not thinking this all the way through about the small things that need to be happening. Definitely, like I said, about the nuclear bombs and the silos and all that. Listen, look, man, you need people that are damn near 24 hours a day. Because if there's nobody there to press those buttons and keep those nuclear bombs cool and stuff. And then let's talk about the power plants that need to be kept cool 24 hours a day. If you don't have nobody in these power plants to push these buttons and know what they're doing, what button to push, what not to push, when to push it, man, the power plants will explode, let alone the nuclear bombs. Man, these chicks ain't thinking all this shit through, but it is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line.